Welcome. I'm Sarah Kyle, Director of Community and Partner Engagement at Michigan 211, and this is From Hello to Help, a podcast series that aims to engage in meaningful conversations about health, human services, and resources essential to the daily lives of Michiganders. Today, we're talking about something that impacts our neighbors, our parents, our grandparents, and one day, hopefully me, elder services and care. The goal is to make sure our aging loved ones are living with dignity and purpose. A key part of that is making sure we're taking steps to prevent a crisis before it even happens. Joining me today are two women that just powerful folks, serving folks in Michigan. Cassie Thierfelder from AARP Michigan and Sara Arena, a fall prevention expert from Oakland University. Ladies, can you speak more about your roles as you introduce yourselves and tell us what are some of the most common challenges seniors face and how do services like the ones you represent work to address those challenges? Do you mind going first, Cassie?
Oh, sure. So I'm Cassie Thierfelder. I'm the manager of advocacy at AARP Michigan. My role is to oversee our policy and advocacy work at the local and state level here in the state of Michigan, advocating for policies that impact older adults especially, and improve the lives of everyone in our communities and make our communities more livable and accessible for all. And, it's speaking to some of the challenges that we know that older adults in our communities face. There's a variety of challenges, but we've heard from a lot of our members recently that housing is a major obstacle right now. With housing costs and property taxes continuing to increase, many older adults want to be able to downsize but are unable to. And it's not just housing costs that are increasing, it's also the cost of food and utilities, transportation, and other daily essentials that continue to go up. So many of our older adults who are living on a fixed income can have a major impact to their quality of life, even by just small increases to these costs.
Thank you, Cassie. Sara, do you mind introducing yourself?
Sure, I'd be happy to. I'm Sara Arena. I am a director and a professor at the physical therapy program at Oakland University. I also have, for about 35 years, still practiced clinically and most recently within the home healthcare setting. And so I think that experience has contributed to some of the work that I've been doing and research work around falls prevention and ways to prevent falls through a variety of different modes in the state of Michigan for older adults. And some of the work that we'll be doing, we'll discuss a little bit today, but maybe focusing on the challenges as myself as a practicing physical therapist is that I was seeing individuals after a fall had occurred and really wanted to move upstream with my approach in giving people the tools that they need to stay safe and independent in their home. We know most of us want to stay safe. No one really wants to fall, but sometimes we just don't have the tools in our toolbox to do that. And so using my practice as a physical therapist, along with other healthcare disciplines and the community to bring together a way to share these resources with people as our bodies change and age and knowing the right things to do.
Love that. Obviously, our listeners can hear why the two of you are joining us today. Thank you so very much. As we talk about challenges, can we talk about maybe some of the resources that are overlooked that are available for older adults here in Michigan? Either of you can get started.
So I will certainly share one of the big resources that I've had the pleasure of being involved with. My colleague, Dr. Chris Wilson, and I, who also works with me at Oakland University, received a research grant through the Michigan Health Endowment Fund to help build a lot of different tools for Michiganders. And so we've partnered with Michigan 211, with the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services, and use the Michigan Fall Prevention Coalition to help create a product that's housed on Michigan 211 that's a fall prevention resource. And so through that, we started with focus groups through different groups in the state of Michigan of individuals over the age of 60 to find out what they were looking for and what they needed. And then we have now launched a feature page on Michigan 211 to help guide people to resources that are in their community. And we're also now researching a tool where people could answer some questions that would guide them and direct them to what resources might be best for their individual needs. So in summary, that's some of the work that we've been doing currently. Previously, I've created a program where we use physical therapists to provide prevention-focused care in the home of older adults called Hop Up Physical Therapy. And we found some really good results when physical therapists were working in the homes of older adults and preventing their falls. Actually, an 8-fold reduction in falls if they knew the right things to do in their homes, the right modifications to make, and were healthy.
Love that. I love empowering Michiganders with information. That's beautiful. Cassie, tell us more.
One of the resources that you can find in your local community is through the Area Agencies on Aging. And I definitely recommend that you reach out to your local area agency on aging to get access to a number of different supports for older adults. But one of the resources that I think is often very overlooked is the resources that we have here at AARP. We hold in-person events throughout the state and virtual events that you can attend from anywhere. Some of these events are informational and educational, such as how to reduce the risk of fraud, financial tips, Social Security information, shred events with the opportunity to shred important documents, caregiving information and resources, technology information and support, such as what you should know about AI and so much more. But we also offer fun events with the goal of socializing or improving overall wellness. We have events like cooking classes, game nights, Tai Chi, drum circles, and what we call movies for grown-ups, where we reserve a theater and you can join us to watch a movie for free. We also provide information and resources related to advocacy opportunities. So for individuals who are interested in policy and making change in their community, you can join us to learn about policy issues that impact older adults at the local, state, and federal level and make your voice heard.
Thank you, Cassie. Sara, can you go back to fall prevention? Can you tell us why this is really a critical service and all the work that you're doing? What are some of the most common risks? Can you expound on that a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely. So sadly, I think many of us know someone who's fallen or even have fallen ourselves. And the statistics are that 1 in 4 of us will fall every year. And that statistic gets higher as we age because there's changes in our body. Some things we can prevent, some we can't. But so that's kind of the statistical background. There's also the cost of this. If you go to an emergency room after a fall, the minimum cost is somewhere between $1,000 and $3,000. And if you're hospitalized, it's over $30,000. And so it's really important from a physical burden because people have pain and suffering when they have a fall, and from a financial burden on society. And so we really would rather get kind of to the beginning of that to prevent these things from happening. In Michigan, we have the same statistics as across the nation. And so I think being proactive to identify those risks early is important. So you also asked kind of some of those different things. There's certainly the physical body. And although sometimes we may not want to admit it, if we aren't being active and aren't doing exercise, our body is naturally going to become weaker. Our muscles will become weaker. Our balance and coordination will decline, and our endurance will decrease. And so certainly having a structured exercise program, whether some of the services that we were talking about that Cassie mentioned with the Tai Chi or different Zumba classes or cardio drumming, those types of activities that are widely available in the community, participation in that, or having a physical therapist design a program that's specific to the unique needs of your body are all resources that can help prevent the fall. But there's also the built environment, the place that we live and the places that we are. And although sometimes people don't want a grab bar in their shower, as a physical therapist, I think showers should just be built with grab bars in them. We all could use them. We could all be at risk for falling, or changing rugs in our home, or putting more rails on stairwells. So really trying to create our built environment to be a safe place to stay and live well into the future. And then there's always the health specific things, and making sure if we're taking different medications, we're working with our physician to minimize that, getting our regular eye exams so that our vision is intact. and a variety of other health concerns that could come up. Getting the regular attention from a physician is going to be important.
I love that you're sharing this, Sarah, and I'll share a tiny bit of personal. Like when we started this partnership, I got to meet with your group. There's an entire fall prevention work group here in Michigan, which is beautiful. But I started looking at my own life, and for Christmas last year, I asked for grab bars because it did surprise me. Again, these statistics that we can start preparing, and falls happen. I won't share my age, but they can happen at any time. And we want to make sure that we're creating that space that is safe as we age. And I'm certainly aging, thank you, God, but I want to make sure that I'm creating those places. Thank you for sharing that, Sarah.
Yeah, and I mention, I did neglect to mention this resource as we talked about it earlier, but for the Center for Disease Control and Prevention, they have an entire program called STEADY, and it stands for Stopping Elderly Accidents, Deaths, and Injuries. And if you Google CDC and STEADY, STEADI, you can actually get a lot of resources and checklists. So you could actually go through your home on your own to find some of those areas that are the highest risk and higher problem.
I love that. Thank you for sharing. Cassie, can you tell us a little bit more? I know you listed some of the things that the AARP is doing to help Michiganders, but is there more that you would say for those of us who are looking to offer support for our aging family members or loved ones?
Sure, absolutely. Sarah mentioned all of these great tools and ways that you can help make your home just easier to navigate and reduce risks, right? Those are things like home modifications that can always help, especially older adults. And one of the things that we advocate for here at AARP is making sure that those home modifications are affordable and accessible for everyone. And so that's why we're advocating right now for a caregiver tax credit that can help support offsetting some of those costs for things like home modifications, putting in those bars to help reduce those risks of falls and other changes that may be needed for your home. But in terms of other supports for caregivers, as you're starting to have those conversations with a loved one, or maybe you're starting to wonder if a loved one needs some additional care or support, AARP does have a guide available for families who are starting to think about those additional supports or cares. And it includes a checklist of potential indicators of if a loved one does need some additional caregiving. And another way you can get more information and resources is just by signing up for our Caring Connections quarterly newsletter for family caregivers. And you can also view our archived newsletters and our family caregiver resource guide for Michigan at our website at states.aarp.org/Michigan.
Thank you so much. Can I ask for us to take one step back? How do I know while I'm talking to my family member who may be aging? Are there things I can look for? Is there questions I can ask? When do I start to know that more support maybe is needed? And what steps can I take to get some of that help? Sarah, do you mind starting that?
Yes, certainly. I'd be happy to share some ideas. So certainly for family members, if you're starting to notice that they're sharing with you that they're feeling a little off balance or having falls in the home, that's a pretty obvious indicator. But the reality is we probably all just should assume we need some of these resources and start being active and looking for some of them maybe before the fall occurs, taking advantage of some of these classes in our community centers that might be available. And so I think some of the other things, maybe memory loss or the obvious things would definitely be when you would be moving forward to get some of that information.
Thank you. Cassie, would you mind sharing as well?
Absolutely. So our guide has 9 questions to think about that may be indicators of needing a caregiver or additional supports for a loved one. And those include, first, if there is a change in hygiene. Second, maybe there's a change in physical appearance or change in mobility. Is a loved one having difficulty or more difficulty navigating their home? Also, 3 is considering if they have any wounds or injuries, wanting to be aware of if they have had some of those falls or other experiences where they have become injured, and considering changes within the home. Maybe your loved one is someone who has always had a very well-kept home, and there's been some changes, maybe more clutter around. And also considering if they've become socially withdrawn. Also talking to them about their finances, if they're having any issues with bills, or any changes have come up with their finances, and problems with driving, considering declining health, or any changes in cognitive health, like Sarah mentioned. Those could all individually be indicators to start talking to your loved one about caregiving and talking to them about what they want to see for themselves in their care. We know that the majority of Michiganders would prefer to age in their home. So having these conversations with your loved one now, before you start having these indicators, is really important. So you know exactly what they would like to see for their future care as well.
Putting people at the center, which is what we love. So as we wrap this up, I would say what I'm hearing is do not struggle alone. That's the message I say probably way too often. Pick up the phone, make sure that you're not wondering what is out there, but ask the question. Ladies, what's the biggest message you would leave our listeners with today about reaching out for help and staying safe? Do you mind going first, Cassie?
Yes, absolutely. The biggest message that I would have is, like you said, Sarah, you are not alone. At AARP, we have a vast network of resources and volunteers that are here to connect with you and offer support and guidance. When we're talking about a family caregiver, we often overlook the caregiver themselves. And we know that 1 in 5 caregivers report being in poor or fair health themselves and struggling to maintain their own health due to their caregiving responsibilities. So AARP offers a number of resources to help support and provide training for family caregivers to help alleviate some of those financial, emotional, and overall training burdens that caregivers are experiencing. And we also advocate for policies that help alleviate some of those burdens, like respite services, caregiving tax credits, and expanding paid family leave, just to make sure that our caregivers have the time and the energy to care for themselves as well.
Yeah, so I would add on to that. I think sometimes we consider ourselves staying independent by not needing help, but staying independent is really knowing that you are the one seeking the help when you need it and being a part of the plan for making these things happen. As we age, our bodies change, and so we have to make change as we go with it. So I would say, again, as has already been mentioned, not doing it alone, seeking help when you need it, putting the things in place like those grab bars in your shower so that you don't have the fall and ultimately aren't able to stay independent in your home. We'd rather you are seeking those things ahead of time.
Ladies, thank you so much, both of you, Cassie and Sarah, for joining us on From Hello to Help. I appreciate and we appreciate you sharing your vital information as well as the critical services that you both are helping to provide seniors and residents across Michigan. To our listeners, if you need support for elder care, fall prevention, or 30,000 other programs, we encourage you to get in touch with 211 for access to the appropriate support for you and your loved ones. Don't forget to follow us on social media and visit our website at mi211.org for more information on many community resources, including fall prevention and AARP. Thank you for listening, and we look forward to having you with us next time on From Hello to Help.